I remember once working with a child, maybe 13, 14 years old. And I remember how he walked into my office. Obviously not interested. That's not surprising. That's what I work with every day, teenagers who aren't interested. But he walks into my office and he's swaggering back and forth. And instead of sitting in the regular place where my client sat, on the couch or whatever it was, he sat down on my chair. And then there was a desk over there, and he sticks his feet up on my desk. And he looks at me and he gets all sarcastic. He puts his head like that. And he's like, "You're going to be my therapist?" Right? In the most sarcastic way possible. What do I do? What do I do? How do I help this child? What do I do now? I mean, what do I tell him? Yes, no, whatever I say, I'm in trouble. He's not interested. There's nothing that he wants from me. What do I do? And this is the key of what you can do to help your child. The answer to this question. You see, what happens is that we get stuck inside the world that we have. When we have a child who's struggling, there's so much pain, so much angst, so much struggle. So we'll have the schools calling us, we'll have delinquent behaviors that are affecting our family besides the child. And then we're going to therapists and we're getting the child help. We're doing all kinds of stuff, right? And we're just trying to manage. So we're like, okay, let me just make this better or that better or this better or that better. And the problem is that we get too stuck in that world. We get too stuck in that small world instead of being able to take a step back and saying, maybe we got the wrong place. Maybe we're missing something here. Maybe there's no reason for my child to do well. You see, here's the thing. The greatest reason why children struggle is not what people often think. It's not some sort of one singular trauma that went on, and it's not ADHD by itself. It's really a continuous struggle, because that continuous struggle of just not doing well creates its whole set of trauma. But besides for that, there's something else. When a child is already, a teenager or even an adult is already in a situation of trauma, of things not working, there is no interest in making things better. There's no interest because why should there be an interest? Nothing works. So we're like, okay, let's send him to more therapy. Let's do more OT. Let's get him more academic help or her more academic help, or let's get her. There's no interest. There's nothing there. And your child who's struggling is not really much different than that client that came to the office that sat on my chair and put his feet on my desk and said to me, "You're going to be my therapist?" You know why? Because the last thing that child wanted was just another therapist in their life. The child had been struggling for years. They had all that trauma, and they didn't believe it was going to work. There was no reason for it to work. So I'm going to tell you what I told that child, and then we're going to get to what you could do as a parent. Here's what I said to that child. I looked at him in the face and I said, "No, I'm not being your therapist." He's like, very funny. Right? Anyone who has a teenager knows what that's all about, right? Just gave me some snarky response. I said, no. I have no interest in being a therapist. I really don't care. Makes no difference. The only thing I want is what you want. And he looks at me funny again. And I said, let me just say something. Imagine that you would be in school, because I knew this kid had just been thrown out of school, and you wouldn't have to work hard, but everything would just work. It would just work for you. You would be in school and everyone would like you. And you wouldn't be thrown out of school, and you would know all the material. Would that be good? And he had like a small smile on his face. And I said, well, how about if you were at home and you didn't fight with your parents? It just wasn't happening. You were just getting over it, and they thought you were the best thing that happened since forever, instead of arguing and fighting and screaming and shouting. Would that be good? So he says, yeah. I said, of course it would be good. Of course you would want that. Who wouldn't? Everyone in the world wants that. And that's what I want to give you, but you don't believe me, right? You don't think it's going to happen. So here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to make it happen myself. You don't have to do anything. And then you'll see that I'm actually mean something and it's not just full of garbage. So he looked a little relieved. And I said, yeah, but I want 3 things from you. And he's like, oh, I knew this would happen. I knew it, yeah. But I said, no, I think you'll agree that these 3 things are pretty simple things. And I went through 3 things that I go through with all my teenage clients, and they were pretty basic. I said, do you have any younger siblings? He said, yeah, I have a sister. I said, how old is she? He said, 5. I said, well, if you had a race with your sister, who would win? He said, me. I said, well, it depends. He said, what? I said, it depends if you try. And he said, again. And I was like, sounds corny, right? And he said, yeah. I said, but it is true, right? I said, my issue is I can make it work, but if you're going to try to make it not work, I can't force it to work. So I'm not telling you have to do anything different, but at least try while I'm doing my thing. Is that fair? And he said, yeah, that's fair. And then I went over 2 other things that maybe we'll go through in a different video. But I got him on my page. And then I said, okay, you're done. But if it works out, I want to see you in like a week or so, and if it works out, and I think you'll tell me if things got better. And I sent him out, and I called in his parents. And then I went through with his parents things that they could do to make their child feel better, to build a relationship, to make their child feel like there's some hope, right? To make the child feel good about what they're doing, even the smaller things, to start creating a connection between them. And that was it. And guess what happened? Now there was a week where the child finally feels there's some hope. The parents feel like maybe there's some hope. And the parents start doing things to build their child on sort of a new page. And the child is trying somewhat. And guess what happened a week later? He came back and he had to agree to me that, yeah, things were getting better. But the biggest thing that I was doing for this child was not about getting him to come back to the office the next time. The greatest thing that I was doing for him was creating some hope. And that's the magic word. When we are struggling with our children, many times there's no reason for them to do better. There's no reason because it's always been a struggle. Like we said, the greatest reason for children struggling in many ways is the fact that there is a struggle. It's sort of the trauma of the struggle. So why should they try? There's nothing going for them. Right now, when I'm recording this video, school's about to start. And there's going to be millions of children that are going into school with no reason in the world for them to do well. There's literally nothing going for them. Why should they try? For what reason? They don't believe it's going to work. And it hasn't worked for so long. The one thing that you could do for your child that will change everything is very simple. It's create a way for it to work. Take a step back out of this whole mess and all that therapy and all those professionals that you've been doing and all the behavioral systems and everything and say, they're, say, going to school. What are they failing at, right? Are they going to school and failing every day? How am I going to make that they actually can succeed? What system am I going to put in place that he's not going to fall apart? Maybe at this point in time, I got to make breaks for him. And maybe it'll have to be that she'll only go to school for half a day. I don't care what it is, but you got to start with the place of success. If they're going into school every day and they're being bullied, you're not going to get that child to succeed. You got to create a way where this child's now going to believe and actually see in real life that something will be different and it can work. Once you do that, you changed everything. Everything. It's a different world because now there's something to go for. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't fool your kid. Don't make something that's, he thinks or she thinks it's going to work and then it doesn't. Because if you do that, not only will you lose their trust for next time, but you'll traumatize them much more. Because now it's doubly traumatized or 100 times more traumatized because they thought it wasn't going to work and now actually they thought maybe it will and they got crushed again. That's the worst thing you could do for your child. Create a way for it to work. Maybe it means meeting the school. Maybe it even means going to school half a day. Maybe it means getting someone academically to work with the child and prepare them for what's going to happen the next day. Maybe it's going to mean switching something around because they're getting bullied. Maybe whatever it is, make sure there's a path. Because until there's a path and until there's hope, there's nothing that's going to work. Hit the like button, subscribe, get involved in the comments, and let's together change the world one video at a time, because there's practical direction and insight out there, and people don't know what it is. People don't know. It's my big pet peeve, because we know that everyone struggles with anxiety, but how many people know what to do about it? Maybe another video for another time. Get involved. Let's change the world one video at a time and change our children's lives by creating that one thing: hope, real hope.